Coach Cronin is fired by Anaheim. Our favorite moments and what if with Royally Quacked here on Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome. Thanks for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Kyle Carr. I'm a lifelong Anaheim Ducks fan, and I've covered collegiate sports for multiple years, including college hockey. But today we're talking the Anaheim Ducks. And today I'm going to be joined by you could say, better half of the Royally Quacked podcast, Cody Spink. Here he is. Cody, how are you?
Oh, I love that. I can't wait to tell my dad that, the better half. I love that.
Good to have you on. And you kind of heard it there. We're going to be talking about the firing of Coach Cronin to start things off, because I know you got a lot to get off your chest. Then we're going to get into some favorite moments from the year, and then we're going to have a little fun playing the what if game there at the end. But to start off things, on Saturday, the Anaheim Ducks, they let go of head coach Greg Cronin after 2 seasons. He got the team up 21 points in the standings from 59 to 80 this year. But the rumors around the rumor mill, if you will, that players have kind of tuned him out, and there was actually a lot of free agents that Anaheim missed out on last offseason because of Cronin being the coach. What are your thoughts on this? Was it too early? Was it too soon? Was it too late? What or was it just right?
Oh, it was definitely, I would say, a little too late. But honestly, I thought they were going to give him at least till maybe American Thanksgiving this next season and give him a chance. But no, and that's what I was scared about, because like you said, like there was probably free agents that wanted to sign here, but they were afraid of Cronin as a coach. And that's what I was afraid of. I was like, crap, are we going to miss out on like a top free agent? Like, maybe is that why Stamkos and Marchessault didn't really want to come here like this last offseason? You know, like if we try to go after Marner or Ehlers, are they going to be like, I would have, but I don't want to play for Cronin. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy that Verbeek realized that, even though there was, like you said, the 21-point increase, but it was all because of the goaltending is what saved our, you know what.
Oh, absolutely. They usually say, show me a good goaltender, I'll show you a good coach. But this instance, it just felt like Lukáš Dostál was more of a Band-Aid than an actual product of the head coaching.
He was more like a Flex Seal than a Band-Aid.
Just full on. There's no water coming out of this thing.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I mean, look at the numbers. That even Gibson had a great season. You know, he was they were both top 5, top 10, and saves above expected. You know, and on a bottom end barrel team is what we've always been called. You know, and they were top 10, both of them. So that should just tell you we were really getting saved by goaltending this season.
Well, right there in the middle, when Gibson and Dostal were both healthy, Gibson was at a 9.11 and Dostal was at a 9.10, but the forwards just weren't scoring yet. And I mean, Cutter Gauthier went blanketed for the entire month of October, and it was just like nothing was going in for the team, but the goaltenders were standing on their heads. And then finally, once the forwards really started to get it together, the goaltending was worn out. Gibson got hurt, and thank God for Billy Husso, because he was standing on his head in the few games that he showed up for.
Yeah, he was a big surprise and everything. Like, we knew he was good back in St. Louis, you know, when he was Binnington's backup or when they were the tandem there. But no, he looked great as a Duck. I can't complain. None of the losses or the games, if he lost when he was a net, were his fault. I can't blame him at all for any of those. I mean, he had 42 saves in that last game on 44 shots. You know, against the President Trophy winner Jets, who didn't sit anybody that game.
I was so surprised. I thought they were going to cool people off, and they were like, nope, full roster.
I thought so too. I thought so too, but I was surprised. But maybe that's why that's what they were worried about. Like if we sit these guys, maybe they might get cold for the playoffs because the Jets usually just tank as soon as they get to the playoffs. Usually.
Well, going back to Coach Cronin, what do you think was his biggest downfall when it came to this team?
His biggest downfall was one, not playing a number one center on his team at center. Just always sitting one of the kids when it should have been some of the older guys sitting when they were not playing as well. Um, like Gudis wasn't very good this year. Hellison was looking a little, off his game towards the end, and yet it was always Zellweger or Minchikov sitting, and they were great most of the season. They weren't really downfall at all. So, like I said, I it was something like that, and sometimes not even mixing up that he should have got rid of the Terry Strome Fadrano line like 40 games ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
was it game 80 finally? He mixed it up.
Yeah, game 80. And I was like, you had this almost a full season, wasn't it? He had that.
There's maybe 4 games where they weren't together.
Like they were great the first 10 to 15 games. They were like the main offense of the team. But after that, they weren't the same anymore. And they weren't scoring. It was literally Troy Terry doing everything and Strome missing a wide open net. And Vetrano taking a dumb penalty. So that's what it usually was.
Well, and I think they had success last season. They basically were the only forward line that carried the team. And so he's like, well, this must be good. And just stuck with it like a stick in the mud. He seemed to kind of go down the Tortorella playbook of benching the young kids. And like somehow that's teaching them a lesson, or I'm not sure where his mental mind state was that. Because like, these guys were bringing the speed every night, and they were very much a rush offense. But then he would just like clip their wings.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I don't, like I said, he needed to make some changes. And the changes he made is not the changes we needed to see. And like I said, he was really just relying on goaltending this season. We weren't scoring. I think we had the worst power play, and that wasn't helping either. I can't say, I will admit, the power play one, it looked good. It's just nothing was going in the net. They were keeping possession. They were moving the puck. It was just nothing was going in the net for them. That power play 2 is more like I'll just skip that one. But that power play 1, they looked good. I will admit they did look good. Just nothing was going in the net for them. So
yeah.
But if you're the head coach, if you're realizing that you're not scoring, you gotta change something up.
And not bench your youth.
Who
aren't doing any, granted they had their mistakes here and there, but compared to Gudis and some of the more veteran players, it was like, why is Zellweger and Minchikov always the ones getting the boot?
Yeah, exactly. Like I understand, like you want to play players on their right sides. Like, if you're left, play on the left. If you're right, play on the right. But like, if you have guys struggling and you have kids that need to be playing and they're not, that's where you kind of need to draw the line.
Yeah. It was always confusing to me because I felt like they'd be in control of a game and doing absolutely great. And then something would happen in the locker room and they would just come out like a totally different team and completely bomb it, or they'd be mad down in a game and like finally by the second half of the game and going into the third, they're like a whole different team. So I'm like, clearly there's times when like you have the ability to motivate the squad when you're in the intermission, but other times you kind of bring them down. So I would love to have been a fly on the wall and see what are you talking about?
Yes. Like I think there was like a Dallas game where they were dominating the first 2 periods. Like the Ducks looked like they should have been leading the Central Division, and Dallas was the bottom barrel team. And then when the third period hit, the Ducks went right back to being one of the worst teams in the league, and Dallas looking. I was like, what changed in that last period? Like what happened in that second intermission that changed? Did Cronin's like, you know what, we're we're good. We got a 2-goal lead. Don't worry about it. Just,
Play this style.
yeah, play this style, dump the puck, get the pucks in deep, the typical cliche stuff. But see, that's why I was like, where was the team? Like, we were dominating possession, you were dominating hits, and then all of a sudden it was just like you guys wanted to play a different game.
Like completely flat.
Completely,
No
exactly
sense.
flat.
Well, speaking of flat, we're gonna get into our moments that were not flat and nice and sharp. Get into our favorite moments of the season and just some fond memories that we can carry with us into the off season. We'll get to that right after this. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Whenever I'm supposed to be off on a meeting or try to get to some stick time at hockey, a beer league game, or go to my son's game and I forgot to eat a lunch, taking a handful of the no shells variety wonderful pistachios is all I need to get going for the rest of the day because of all that protein they got in them. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. And now that we're into the playoffs and we get to sit here watching, crying, and wishing that our team was in those wonderful games that is the Stanley Cup playoffs, we got to talk about some of the favorite moments from this year. And for me, to start things off, one of the ones that comes is when they finally put the Mac and C's line together and brought Sam Colangelo in, and the kids just took off. Cutter Goche, Sam Colangelo, Mason McTavish. They were on a little bit of a hot streak for about 2 or 3 games when they first came together. And the way they were able to dominate at the end of the games, it was really cool to watch the future of Anaheim really be on display as a first year, basically, squad.
Yeah. Oh, no.
What were some moments for you?
I mean, one obvious one is the Leo Carlson home opener overtime winner. That one, I mean, I think Connor Ingram is still sliding till this day from that moment. That was just great. Anytime watching Carlson, Mason McTavish, or Zegers in a shootout, I feel like anytime it's entertaining because most of the time they're scoring. So I think as Ducks fans, I think we want to keep a shootout because that's our bread and butter. Because look at who we have, even Troy Terry. So I would say that those are ones I can think of at the top of my head right now. I'm pretty sure I got another. That behind the back glove save by Gibson that he made.
That was earlier in the year and was at least a goalie of the year candidate or save of the year candidate as soon as that happened.
I was just like
nasty.
It reminded me when Vasilevsky made that one behind the save on Kopitar a few years ago. I was like, I mean, different. I think that Vasilevsky's was a lot nicer in my opinion, but still Gibson's behind the back. That one was crazy.
The way he got on it and then rolled over, they thought it was in. It was such a beauty of a save. Well, and then I think with Dostal, his entire season would be a highlight of a year because just the way he stepped into basically becoming the G1 he was kind of supposed to ease into it this year, but with Gibson going out, he was playing fantastic. And there were some saves that for him were routine, but you look at it and you're like, how the heck did he make that save?
Yeah, and he always seemed like he was in the perfect position. Like he was reading the play, reading the puck really well. Like he knew, all right, this guy's going high blocker, and he already had it right there waiting. That's what it seemed like. He was like a fortune teller to start. He was just fantastic to begin with. I want to say during the beginning of the year, I want to say he was my player of the week, the first 7 out of the 8 weeks.
Well, he how the Ducks do their 3-star leaderboard thing on the TV broadcast.
It's always the goalie. It's always the goalie.
He took charge that first week and was just like, yeah, I'm not ever giving this to anyone else.
Yeah, exactly. I would say another favorite part is the way Cutter looked at the end of the season too. Seeing him and
That
Leo
was
together
that was the
really give.
smartest move Cronin made at towards the end of the year. Like finally putting him with Leo Carlson was
Mhm.
a massive game changer. And I think the only difference I would have liked to see Terry up there instead of Kaloran. I mean, Kaloran was the most reliable guy. He was great with those two, but I feel
Yeah,
like Terry, the way he plays his 200-foot game would have just been that extra bite between those two skaters.
yeah. Oh no, hands down, I completely agree. Or even McTavish up there, I think would have been. But I think Terry would have been a better fit for sure. Um, but when I was seeing Cutter and Leo in those games, it was giving me Solani Korea vibes back in the day. Like
Absolutely. I always
that
go
was a
Getzloff
fantastic
Perry,
duo.
but that's the OG pairing.
No, if I had to choose between the two, I'm going Solani Korea pairing because
Mhm.
I mean they were dominating. Getzloff and Perry. I mean they dominated, but not as much as Korea and Solani did back in the day.
No. They were game changers for sure. And that's how
Hmm.
I'm seeing Cutter Goche and Leo Carlson. Once they finally got put together, their ability to play in the defensive zone and transition through the neutral, and then they were just able to really take over in the offensive zone. And one thing I also liked is when Zegras and McTavish went together. I think
Yeah,
that's a key line to like. It's really hard to separate Zegras and McTavish after the way they played together this season. Because when
yeah,
they were separated, they were both kind of struggling. And I felt like as soon as they got together, they got more active on the forecheck. There was a little bit more tape to tape passing going on. And they really seemed to have that chemistry of I remember when they first came in, everyone was like, "Oh, Zegras and McTavish are going to be worst enemies," because McTavish was just like, "Ugh," and Zegras was the chat box and all over Insta and the social media guy, and like
yeah.
McTavish was just kind of this quiet, show up to work and do your job type guy. But they seem to be best friends now.
Oh no, they definitely seem like they're best friends, and I feel like ever since Zegras and Mac T got together, I felt like Zegras was back to his like normal self, like on offense. He was making his or what's that one guy Flippy Puck plays? Like he was getting back to that, but like, it was helping. Like he made
Hmm.
that what between the legs pass up to McTavish. You know, he wasn't doing that before, so.
Mm-mm.
But I feel like we're also missing a big favorite moment of this year is the Lacombe. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
him. I did not have him on my bingo card having 40 points this year. I can tell you that. You know,
No.
the way he played, his little spin move. You know, and he's so fast. You know, and the way he breaks out. You know, I would say like him and Dostal were the breakout players this season for the Ducks.
Oh yeah. Lacombe is absolutely a one man breakout, and like all you keep hearing from the head staff, the coaching, the GM, everyone that's been talking about his performance this year, all they keep saying is there's another level. Like
Yeah.
this was good. Yeah, we were very like it was nice to see him, but we see another level. And like I definitely see Lacombe taking home a Norris trophy in his career.
Yeah, I could see that, and I forgot who said this, where I heard it, but they were saying, like, back in, college, Faber and Lacombe were teammates together at Minnesota, and guess who was running the PP1 there? It was Lacombe, it wasn't Brock Faber. You know,
Hmm.
Lacombe was the top defenseman there. Faber was, I think, a number 2, number 3. So, if we can get Lacombe to be any like, even the same level as Faber, that's a number 1 defenseman in my book.
Oh yeah. It was a little worrisome with like as much as Cam Fowler would make me rip my hair out, he was a top minutes, top defenseman, and
Mhm.
Lacombe definitely proved like I don't worry about that, guys. I got it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
So
good to see.
I feel like after we traded Cam, Lacombe broke out.
Hmm. He got his well. Speaking of the younger defense, you give them the opportunity and you give them the minutes, and they show up. You bench them for half the season, they're gonna have a hard time getting going because they're not playing.
Yeah, I think was in what, March or February or what. I think Zellweger only played like one game in a month. So
Yeah.
how are you supposed to get these prospects up and ready for the NHL when they're sitting for 90% of the games in a month?
It was up until the trade deadline because he was like, yeah, we had stability with Brian Dumoulin back there, and he was really helping us, but he had to go.
And like I said, I had nothing about Brian Dumoulin. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have mind keeping him if we didn't have all those
Mhm,
prospects waiting. I felt like he was a great presence back there for us, but he was blocking the young kids from playing. So, like I said, that's why. Like I said, if it wasn't for that, I would have loved to extended him. I thought he looked
mhm.
great. I thought he looked great in Anaheim in his time here.
Oh, yeah. He definitely was a vibe setter too. Like, I think he helped a lot of these young cats get used to the NHL level of play and performance, and was a great example to have in the locker room. And I was kind of bummed when he was out of the team, but that's the life of the free agency and trade deadline, and this is a business. So,
Yeah.
but
Team
speaking of
BJ.
this, this being a business, we're going to talk about some what ifs. We've got a head coaching spot to fill. We've got some RFAs that need to be signed and free agency coming up. So we'll get into some hypotheticals after this. The NBA playoffs are almost here. They're actually here right now. And FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love with FanDuel. It's so easy to bet on there. There's so many different ways you can place that $5 bet, from three-pointers to steals to assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player pops, and then you can also do game parlays. It's all there. So don't miss out. Head to fanduel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. And now we get to have some fun and get to use our little imagination brains and talk about some what ifs. And I know you've seen this out there, and it's just everyone being brats, but what if the Anaheim Ducks bring over the good old John Tortorella as the head coach after the drama that was Cutter Gauthier coming over because he refused to play for him?
No, please, no.
I don't think Pat
No.
Verbeek's that diabolical, but he's
No.
there.
No. Pass. No, like I said,
That's gonna be a nah for me, fam.
Torts was a great coach back in the day. I feel like after Columbus, he should have just stayed as an analyst.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, and I still don't get why Philly hired him. Coach that's always wanting to win during their rebuilding stage.
Yeah.
But he did like make Philly look good that not this last season, but the season before. Because I was not expecting them to make a playoff push like that. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, but Torts, no. Because I feel like if we get Torts, I have a feeling Zegers will be on the bench a lot.
Like the entire roster will be on the bench.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could just I could see McTavish and Tortorella having some FU matches back there. Like, I feel like McTavish is one of those guys that would just not be down with that. The silence will be broken.
I feel like vibes would be completely gone as soon as Torts gets there.
Mm-hmm. Well, not now that that one is out of the way. Do you have a coach in mind that you think would be a good fit for this team? Like, we've got Pierre Laviolette that's out there. There's oh my god, the guy he was in Vegas in New York. I'm totally drawing a blank on his name right now.
Gallant, no.
Gallant.
No.
I mean, one that's been out there that's kind of a dark horse, Joel Quenneville. He's
No.
been out because of what happened, but who do you got in mind or should they bring in someone new from college?
So on our podcast, the one that we just brought out, I actually gave it like 3 names of a short list who I would like to see. One of them was Jay Woodcroft, the old Edmonton Oilers coach. I think he would be a great fit. there. I mean, look what he in Edmonton. He had a great time in Edmonton. He just struggled at that beginning of the season and stuff like that. But I think with this team, I think he can do pretty well. The other coach I had in mind was oh, why am I drawing a blank on it now? I know the other one I had was I think what I've heard in the news a lot is David Carl from the Denver University coach.
But I've
I know
also
that
heard that he's like not interested in the NHL.
I've heard from what I've heard is that he's if he's going to NHL, he wants to have say in general managing. He wants to have like a long shelf life pretty much while
Mhm.
he's there. Because honestly, he doesn't need to leave Denver. He doesn't. He can be the man there and be the coach there for the next 20, 25 years and live comfortable there. And he can do what he wants there. Which if I were him, I wouldn't mind staying there if he gets that kind of leverage. Oh God, who was the other coach I had in mind? I'm drawn at the top of my blank right now.
That
I had
happens. There's a
another
lot of
one.
names out there.
I had another one, but it's escaping my mind. Let's
Yeah,
just bring back just have Timo Solani and Paul Crewe be co-head coach. Boom, done.
we could bring in old Getsy.
I heard, he doesn't
He's
want to
up
coach
there in
from what
player
I heard.
safety, living out the easy life. He could come back and give back to his roots. Because clearly
Yeah,
Corey Perry's
God,
going to play until he's got a walker.
I wouldn't be his walker is his hockey stick. That's what's going to happen with Corey Perry.
He's gonna be just
I mean,
reeling in on leaning on a stick.
I would not be shocked. I wish I could tell you what my last one was. It's bugging me now that I can't think of it.
That's
But
all
I would
right.
say those
I'm sure it'll
are
come to you.
yeah. I know Woodcraft was one of them for sure. I wouldn't mind seeing him. Oh, I remember now. Okay, I got it. If he's available, he's not available right now, but I've heard a lot of talks about him. But I mean, Mike Sullivan would be a perfect
Oh my
fit
gosh.
for Anaheim.
That is the
Yeah,
dream. We
yeah.
were talking about that
That
earlier. We did a squad show and pretty much every host was like, yeah, if the Penguins could just please let Mike Sullivan go so we could get him over here.
yeah,
He's like
yeah.
him, or if they could just clone John Cooper.
Oh my God, John Cooper. Yeah, John Cooper would be great fit in Anaheim too. I would love to have a clone of him in Anaheim. We'll
Mm-hmm.
call him Con Juper. How about that?
Yeah, that's it. The other Sunshine State
Yeah.
coach.
God, I'm glad I thought of Mike Sullivan. That would have been bugging me the
Oh,
rest of the night.
that would be the way he's obviously done his tenure, and he knows how to handle young talent. He knows how to handle old talent. Not saying that Crosby's old or anything, or Malkin, but he knows how to be a solid voice, and he knows what he's doing. He's a fantastic behind the bench, and it would be good to have someone like that over here. Will it happen? I feel like most likely no. But
Yeah.
do you think the Ducks got rid of Cronin so quickly so that they could interview David down from Denver?
I think so. I think they wanted to have time to be able to show that they are interested and prove that like, hey, like this would be a perfect fit for you, David Carl. If you want time, I mean, who doesn't want to live in Southern California like this? We got, as the Buffalo GM said, we got palm trees. Who doesn't want to be around palm trees, beaches? Got plenty of beaches. You got Disneyland right down the road. Great
It's not too
food.
bad to get to from Denver.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and you also had Troy Terry that played for him. Cutter Gauthier played for him at World Juniors.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you already got a couple players there. So I wouldn't. I mean, I think it would be. That could have been why Cronin got let go that quick.
Yeah, because I mean, Pat Verbeek, he does have the tight-lipped style of being a GM and doesn't like to share his secrets, but that was for not having like his post interview sounded like, oh well, we don't have anyone in mind. We're gonna do our due diligence. We're gonna do this interview process. But why so hastily let him go right after the season ends if you don't even have someone right in mind? Like, it screamed like we're about to hire someone Monday, but then he's like, well, we're still going to do our thing. But I think, I don't know, they just seemed like they had someone that they're trying to be like, hey, we're the first ones available. Like, come on down, rather than letting it sit for a minute.
No, yeah, 100% agree. I feel like that's what they're doing. Just trying to show like, hey, look what we have here. Like, look what I mean, Cronin did an okay job here. Look what you could like. We did a 21-point increase with this team and what we could bring in for you. We could probably make this a wild card team or even a team to at least make it into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what they're trying to show these available coaches that quick.
Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, we have the talent. He said he's going to listen to like what they want to do to get them to the next level. So sounds like he really wants to make sure they're a positive voice that's going to come in and really apply good communication to the players and motivate them in a positive way, more so than the like aggressive, like bah humbug style.
Yeah, and he even worked under Jim Montgomery too. So,
Mm-hmm.
we got all these draft capital that we have, the prospect capital we have. We could really make some moves and really change this team for the better.
Oh yeah, and that was going to be my last little question here for you. The current cap space for the Ducks is 15.78 million. They have so much cap space. However, you've got Mason McTavish that's about to be an RFA, Isaac Lundestrom, you've got Lukasz Dostal, Drew Hellison, Brett Leeson, Brock McGinn's going to be a UFA, Robbie Fabry's going to be a UFA. So some of these guys are going to need, Billy Huso is going to be a UFA. Lots of contracts that need to get signed right now. Tim Wash, because of that weird 1-year deal, though he played 2 games. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that was just to get him in before he became a UFA, because he was like drafted but hadn't played for a while.
I think he was undrafted.
I'm pretty sure what I read that he was drafted by the Ducks in like the 8th round or something in 2018. Like it was like a long time ago.
I don't remember that.
Unless I read the wrong thing, but I thought he was. But I saw everyone saying undrafted, so I was really confused about that. I'm pretty sure on the Ducks page it said he was drafted by them. So maybe they meant it wrong. But anyways, with that cap space, we got the one I really want to dive into is our boy Mason McTavish. He's at what, 8.5 right now, or almost 900K on the cap hit. What do you think? What kind of contract do you think he's going to get? Do you think he's going to get like a 4 and 5 or a 5 and 4?
I mean, it could be something similar to like what Zegras got. I feel like a 3x6, 3x5.5, something in that range. Because it sounds like Verbeek wants to go bridge on all these RFA deals, which I don't hate. The only one I feel like he should not do a bridge deal is Dostal, but we'll get into that in a bit. But with McTavish, I could see 3x5.5, 4x6, like something in that range.
Yeah. So kind of lower on the annual value, but more on the years.
Mm-hmm. I think just before that UFA status, I believe.
Yeah. Well, because he's definitely a player that you're going to want to keep around, and especially with the chemistry that he has with Zegras, and someone that's going to be a good voice in that locker room for a while. And then, yeah, with Dostal, I definitely would like to see him getting some big bucks. I think you almost give him the Gibson contract, where you're looking at like 6.5, 7 for a few years, like at least long term.
I'll give him the Swayman deal, 8x8.5 or whatever it is. He's young too. He's only what, 22, 23, I want to say.
And a world champion.
And a world champion. And he is a bona fide number 1. He showed that this year. Can you imagine if we actually had, competent coaching behind the bench and how much better he probably would have looked?
Actual solid defensive coaching.
Yeah, he could have taken that Vezina easily away from Hellebuck. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I feel like he's going to get in a few years, though. Like, I definitely see him getting the Vezina. in the next 3, and if not, next 5 years
Yeah, so
with his trajectory?
6 to 8 years, I would say 7 to 8 million per year is where I could see that.
Definitely. Well, thanks for hanging out with me, Cody, and playing the what if game and shooting the talking about Greg Cronin being gone and some good fond memories of this season. It is sad that it's over, but we'll get together some more and talk about some fun off-season conversations. And I hope all is going well with your podcast. Where can our listeners find you?
So we are on all social media at Royally Quacked again, and we're on all audio platforms as well. We go live every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So come talk with us. We'll talk about anything: Ducks, Kings, Star Wars, Marvel. If you got any interesting takes, send it our way. We would love to have the chatter. Any questions, it would be great. And we also going to be starting some grades stuff soon, so have our fans tune in. I have a full thing ready for. I want to hear everyone's opinion on their grades for the team this year. So,
Definitely.
Yeah, I'd like
definitely
to have
a lot of disparity in that.
Oh yeah, and I want to hear. I want to hear from our fans. So that's what
we got. Some good ones out here in
on.
Anaheim.
Yeah, we definitely do. We definitely do.
Well, thank you for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night, until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find this podcast anywhere in those places as well. Locked On Ducks. Thanks again. I'm Kyle Carr. Be good out there.